So 9.5 years ago, I was on the dating scene, trying to find someone to spend the rest of my life with, as you do. And I met this guy, and we did the whole, courting scenario of, what are your likes, what are your dislikes, what are your red lines. For him, it was homeopathy and astrology. For me, it was leaving the house without makeup. And like the days go by and you're kind of going, okay, so what are the things you will tolerate about this person? So I tolerate his driving, he tolerates mine, and like we worked around it. And as I was kind of getting to know him better, and I was thinking, this might be something, there might be something there. I asked him, well, what's your dream? What is the dream? What would you like to achieve in your life? And he said, very seriously, I want to sail across the world. I want to sail all around the world, and I want to have the love of my life with me while I'm sailing. And I thought, isn't that beautiful? And for this guy, like, sailing wasn't just a hobby. It was his genuine passion. He read books about sailing, he took courses, he owns a boat. For him, it's a real thing, right? It's a deal breaker. So you can imagine why I didn't tell him that my experience of sailing was that I had dinner on a boat in a harbor once. I could tell boats in the water, and we went on our holiday and he was like, oh, that's a blah, blah. I was like, uh-huh. And that's a, uh-huh, yeah, okay. So you could tell, like, in the sea? And he goes, of course you can. Could you not see that? It's like, oh, yeah, no, I do. Don't scare him away. And so, of course, when we had our first romantic long weekend away, and he decided we would go and help his friend set up his boat for the racing season, I said, of course. Yeah, like that was the test, So I was like, sure, I'll help. So, suddenly I was no longer his girlfriend, I was crew member. And crew member was given 2 winches to take apart, clean, grease, and put it back together again. I still don't know what a winch does, by the way. But I did it, because YouTube tutorials, they're great. And we started going on these sailing races every couple of weeks, where I was, again, crew member who's pulling the ropes and trying to get, and reading books on the side, what do they do? Like, what is a tack? What is a dive? What does this mean? And we were failing miserably every race we did. We just failed. We weren't top 5. We weren't top 15. We were bottom 3 most of the time. And each time I was like, no, you have to get this right, Sophie. You have to, this guy, he's really good. You can't waste him. So I can't tell him that I'm shite at this. I can't tell him that I'm seasick, that I don't enjoy it, that I don't get the whole, oh my God, isn't it great here on the water? No, it isn't. It's boring. Woohoo, we're on the water. There's sea. Yeah. There's not even dolphins, like nothing. No, but things went along and we were getting together fine, and I was like, just as long as I can keep this secret, as long as I can really, put my, just get this done, this guy can stay with me because he's good. Until the end of the season, which was October. So this was the last, after October, the boats come out of the water and they go home and you just hibernate until the weather comes back. So we were on the last race of the season, and if you can think 3rd week of October, think of what the weather is like 3rd week of October, very high winds, very choppy seas, and we were on the water, of course, and I was on port side. For those of you who don't sail, it basically means the left side, but because they're sailors, they have to be pedantic. I was port side, I was pulling the ropes, and I was doing what I'm supposed to do, and going, fucking hate this. And we were winning. We genuinely were. We were like maybe 2 boats, there were only 2 boats ahead of us. We were really doing well in the water. Very high waters, very, very choppy. And I could just hear the skipper saying, Sophie, tighten the ropes. And I kept tightening these ropes. And a gust of wind came and the boat went into a 90-degree angle. And I didn't know boats could do that. But it did. And in a scene reminiscent of your favorite Tom and Jerry cartoon, I looked underneath and there was no land. And I did that wiggly thing with my feet where and then went straight into the freezing Irish Sea. Again, third week of October, I was fully submerged. I went completely down into the depths and just, went off the boat. And they were going ahead so fast, they didn't even notice they were missing a crewman. I came out of the water just in time to grab to the rails of the boat as it was speeding along, as the currents were pulling me under. And it was probably 3 or 4 minutes before they realized that they're yelling at a crew member who wasn't there. And then they turned around and they're like, oh, there she is. So they managed to pull me out of the water. I managed to pull myself out because, I'm too fat for them to pull me out. But I managed to get out of the water and I was terrified. I was thinking, this is it, I've failed. And, this is the end. Thank you. Yeah, very much. The soundtrack and I thought this is the end of it. Now, I was 2 shades bluer than the Irish Sea at that point. My core temperature was probably 2 degrees above, acute hypothermia. But soaking wet, wellies are soaking wet, everything just. And the skipper let the sails out. I don't think he's forgiven me yet, because of course we didn't win the race. He let the sails out and tried to motor us back to the harbor. And my then boyfriend took me down to the cabin to dry me out, and he was patting me, and I was crying. I was sobbing because I was ready for the, it's not you, it's me conversation. So I said, look, I'm sorry. And he said, what are you apologizing for? And I said, well, I cost you the race and I can't sail. And he looked up at me with his quizzical gray eyes and he was like, don't be silly. You're more important to me than the race and you're more important to me than sailing. But of course, because I'm such a masochist, I was like, no, remember your dream? You want to sail the world? I can't do that with you. And he said, that's fine. You could fly to the harbor I'm going to dock in and meet me there. And I've never been on a race, but, I haven't been on a sailing race since. As I said, I don't think the skipper has forgiven me yet. But that guy is no longer my boyfriend either. He's now my fiancé.